That's Professor Kev here. So this week in class, I asked my students, do you have a brand? And a lot of them are like, no, I don't. Well, surprise, you do. And in most cases, you have multiple brands. So I use myself as an example. For many years, I was the chairman of the food pantry in my town. So for a lot of people in my town, I was a food pantry guy. Some people knew my name. Some people just called me food pantry guy. That was part of my brand. They saw me trying to make a difference in my community. Obviously, I'm a professor. So I have a brand as a professor, and what you as my students think of me, my colleagues think of me, that's part of my brand. But I also have a brand as a business owner. My clients, they think of me in certain ways. So everybody has multiple brands. I'd argue I also have a brand as a brother, uncle, family member. How did my family think of me? Everyone, in my opinion, has multiple brands. It's really funny, class. In class, I joke about the fact that you all get to use Rate My Professor. So I'll tell my students, I'm making a website, Rate My Students. And it'd be funny to watch some be like, oh my God, I'm like, hey, what's the matter? Afraid of what I'm saying about you, buddy? Because you just freaked out when I joked about it. But that's your brand. What do people think about you? And that's important for you to think about as you're going through school. Also, work. You have a brand as a worker. What would your boss say about you? Is it favorable? So you got to think about your brand because that's your reputation. If your reputation at work is, really good, or hey, you know what? He, tries to do as little work as possible. I always joke, like, what do you do when your boss leaves to go to lunch? A lot of my students like pull out our phone and surf while they're gone, but not actually do work if the boss is there to watch us. That happens. So give some thoughts to this and how you can build your brand so it's favorable. What are your teachers saying about you? What is your boss? What is your family members? What are your friends saying about you? That is your brand, and you need to protect it. You need to build a solid brand so that when your name comes up, people are like, yeah, good person, good student, good whatever you want to be good at. That's what people are saying about you. Because as you try to transition from being a student to an employee, getting your first full-time job, all that reputation you have with your professors, you may need a reference. If you're reaching out like, oh, geez, Kevin never even showed up for class. I'm not really comfortable recommending them to anyone. That's your brand. So be very cautious about the steps you take to build and protect that brand because, again, it is your image. And unfortunately, it does come back at some point in time where you may be applying for a job and someone reaches out to me because they see we're connected here on LinkedIn. You're like, hey, what can you tell me about Kev? And I'm like, well, I'd rather not answer that question because I won't say anything bad about you. I'll be like, I probably don't want to answer that question, which is the same as me saying, hey, you probably don't want to hire Kev. So give some thoughts to that. Make sure you're protecting the brand. All right, class, thanks for watching. Hope you have a truly dazzling day.